Okay, here we go. Hello, anybody who's actually waiting. Probably nobody, but that's fine. Pause my little echo. All right. Well, I'm back, and I've decided to try out this new schedule, which is for me the morning instead of the evening. So I'm a totally different Raimu. We'll see how this goes. I plan to try to stream at the same time every day that I actually stream, and it'll be in this time slot. So for me, Pacific time is 7 o'clock, and then going till around 9 or maybe sometimes to 10, depending on the day. Let's see, did I forget to do anything? No. Get right into it. I've been working on this experiment where we're combining a wgpu to draw graphics and egui to draw a GUI interface on top of that. And yesterday I got the spinner to update without any other events happening. And now I gotta decide what to do next. I think one of the things I was gonna do was add an FPS meter. Then I thought, in addition to FPS, it'd be nice to see how much time the whole drawing, the render cycle is actually taking, and draw that out here as well. And once I get that done, I think I wanted to go back to the graphics here. This triangle is like the hello world of graphics programming. Hey there, Stripe Monkey. I know, 2 streams in one day. Probably the only time because I'm transitioning between schedules. So I'm trying out this new schedule where I start in the morning time for me rather than in the evening. And we'll see how it goes. Looking at like the world clock, I think it actually makes more sense because daylight covers more of the Earth um, in the areas that tend to have people who want to watch my stream, right? So we'll see how it goes. Yeah, so the triangle being the hello world of graphics, I think we want to go to the next step. Usually the tutorials that teach you graphics programming, after you draw a triangle, then you draw something in 3D like a cube and have it spin around. Maybe I'll start working on that next. Meanwhile, my new cat is stalking me distance. Say hi, kitty. Hi to the stream. Say good morning, stream. Hello. You want to eat the microphone? You want to claw my face? I don't know what you want. Just wants to lurk around, I guess. All right. So yeah, first thing is first. I want to let's have it measure like the average amount of time it takes to do the render cycle. So, whoa, what's going on? Cat jumped over my cables. The render cycle is here. So we sample the current time here and at the very end down here, and then kind of average that over a certain number of measurements, and then we can print that as part of the info overlay. I think that would be nice. This info overlay right now is just told to draw given a context, right? And it has its own state, so I think we're going to have to get access to this state in order to like provide the overlay with something to draw. Should I go ahead and just add it now? We don't really need it to say hello world anymore, right? Why don't we just print it right here? So format. Average render time. And we'll probably want to see it in milliseconds. So that's self dot average render time. let's add that to the self. As an F64. Why not use all the bits, all the 64 bits? I already have an error. What do I do now? Okay, I'm missing a parentheses. I felt like I might have been missing a parentheses there. All right. So if I run it now, it'll just say 0, right? Average render time, 0 milliseconds. Hey there, Clayman. How are you doing today? I'm streaming in a new schedule that I'm going to try out. Pacific time morning. Morning Pacific time. See how this goes. Where am I creating my inner overlay? Oh, here it is. So I need to be setting this every time, right? And there's got to be a library out there that lets me average stuff over time, right? I could always make my own. But why make your own when you can find one already made for you? That sounds like the opposite of me. Let's go to libs.rs average. Calculate statistics iteratively. Generic moving average calculation. Simple moving average. This one's got a lot. Actually, these two have a lot of downloads. This one doesn't. Go to the popular one. About to say didn't. Yeah, I know. I usually enjoy reinventing the wheel, but I've written the simple moving average so many times. Why write it again when someone else already has one ready for me to use? Just had to add one line of code, right? Yeah, see, this is exactly what I need. So why don't we just use this crate? It's got a long name, but, you know, I won't hold that against them. So it's, wow, it hasn't been updated in 2 years? I guess math doesn't change, right? 0.1 is what we want. So go to our cargo.toml file. Now we have two things that start with the name simple. Simple moving average. All right, and then let's make one here. Let render time measurements equal, and then I failed. Hey there, C17R. I am streaming at an EU UK friendly time finally. What does this mean? Request text document semantic tokens full delta failed. What if I just ignore that for now? I want to look at their usage example. Single sum SMA. I don't really like the name, but we'll go with it. Imported from simple moving. Oh, I get it. SMA simple moving average, single sum. Okay. So they say you add sample. Right. So this is exactly what I want. We want to take the instant at the beginning of move, beginning of the closure that we moved stuff into for redraw, and at the end we want to add to that moving average the sample, and then somewhere before we draw we want to update the overlay. You were like 8 to 9, you managed to derive the formula for a moving average all by yourself. That was the peak of your math career. Well, you have to have a sliding window, right? So you have a sliding window and you have a sum, and when you add a sample, you're putting one at the end of your queue and then adding it to the sum. And when the queue gets too long, you start taking off of the head of the queue and subtracting from the sum. I've written that so many times that like I don't really want to write it right now. So we're going to add the sample to the render time measurements down here. And this instant is, call this render start. Render start elapsed. And then anywhere I want to, I can update the GUI. Why don't we put it right before we draw, right before the process GUI. We'll do it there. So info overlay dot average render time equals render time measurements. I'm gonna guess what it is, but what is it? Get average. I don't know why it's got a problem with that. No method named get average. Get average. That's what their documentation talks about. Is their documentation old? Should I be looking at their API reference instead? Single sum SMA. No, they do have a get average. How come I don't see it? Is there more to this help message? Oh, it's available if I use an SMA trait. So, okay, I'll do that. And I don't like to keep the names of traits in the current namespace. What I like to do is hide them. Where did it add that line? I don't even see where they added it. Oh, here it is. So you do that by doing as underscore, so the name is hidden. And so found a duration. So we want it as milliseconds, right? As as seconds f64 multiplied by 1,000, right? To get it into milliseconds. And then this probably needs to be mutable. No. Type annotations needed. Why? Consider giving it an explicit type that for divisor is specified. It needs me to say duration for the first type. Okay. I don't know why. Okay, what's the deal? Why couldn't I just go with fill in the blank? Hold on. What are the types? Sample, divisor, and size. Okay, so it wasn't sample type, it was a divisor. It wanted me to fill in something. Okay, this is why. There's some other error here. Doesn't satisfy. Should I not be using a float here? Ah. Duration as something when divided by f64, which is required. Maybe f64 is not something I should be using. Implementations. Hey there, TS Just. Yeah, I know. Late afternoon stream. Did you see the Discord message? Said I'm going to be trying out a new schedule where I try this in this time slot. Also trying to adjust my sleep schedule so it's more aligned with the actual duration of the day and not like staying up really late at night. But I am streaming probably at the same time Tim is, right? Like, I bet if I looked, he's probably streaming too, which means I could raid him at the end of my stream, probably, right? Yeah, it's just me and Tim competing for viewers. Does that mean, TS Joss, that you're watching both me and Tim at the same time? Never heard of him. Oh, should go over there and tell on you. TS Jaw says he's never heard of you, Tim. What I'm looking for is like implementations for like this requires sample to be certain types, right? Or the divisor has to be a certain type. If the sample type does not, use from zero constructor instead. Constructs a sum with given a zero sample. Okay, so I guess I need to do from zero instead of new. Fair enough. So, oh no, I did from zero. Okay, then I still don't know what its problem is about get average. Get average. Is it the type of sample? I'm going about this too fast. I should probably slow down. Is it L3WM? If so, can you share the status bar conf? No, it's not. Or I3WM. I'm not sure what IW3M is. Are you talking about the window manager? I mean, this is Ubuntu. And I think it's XFCE. Yeah, like what TS Joss said. Yeah, I think I'm using XFCE. Here you go. It's Ubuntu 22.04.3 LTS. And it's a virtual device, virtual machine. It's running on Parallels. Yeah, XFCE is the window manager. Okay, what is the error exactly? It's actually a lot of error. The method getAverage exists, but it's... oh, do I just need to bring in a trait again? Is that all it was? No, that wasn't it. Okay, no, there's a bound that's not satisfied. Method cannot be called on that due to unsatisfied bound. So what is the bound? Doesn't satisfy duration as divide or div f64 output equals duration. Well, so I shouldn't use a duration. So, okay, then it doesn't like me using duration. What if I just use 0 dot or just new, right? Yeah, and then f64. And then when we add it, we'll just add it elapsed as seconds f64. So then up here, I don't need to get it here, just multiply by... Why don't I just pre-multiply by 1,000? Because I don't need to, right? Keep it as seconds and then multiply at the end. Cannot borrow it as mutable, is not declared as mutable. Well, let's make it mutable. Okay, cool. So it's going to build this time. Let's run it. Okay, too many significant digits and the number's flickering too much. How to fix that? That's a Rust formatting thing, right? Or maybe just needed time to settle. 12 milliseconds, not too bad. Not too good either. What if I run it in release build? Cargo run release. While that builds, I guess we'll look at other stuff. I forget in Rust how do you set the number of significant figures. Format. Talk about it there. Format args macro. More documentation here. There we go. Where do I do the significant figures? So that's how you do leading zeros. Where's the significant figures one? Width, fill alignment, sign, precision. Here we go. So it's a dot. So I do colon, dot, and then the number of digits. That's over here, right? So colon, dot. I don't know. We don't really need to see that many digits. How about just 2 of them? Well, thank you, Striped Monkey. You want me to... This is sort of a problem because it doesn't like the dot inside of here, right? I'd have to assign it a local name in order to fit it in here, so I'm using the old style formatting. Should I have a number in front? Or I probably should, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. How about 5? That's the total width, right? Yeah, that's the width, minimum width. Padded by the fill alignment. Take up the required space, and then we can say whether it's a 0 or something, right? Okay. Still building the release build. We sure use a lot of crates. I think one reason why is I'm still allowing at runtime to select the full tick as the backend instead of W in it. So I'm wondering if maybe I should just drop full tick support. Bring in a lot of extra crates, I think. What should I talk about? Oh, nope, I'm done. Okay, the release build's a little bit faster. It's still not really doing it it's not filling in it. Oh, also we're not using a proportional font. We can fix that, right? I mean, it is using a proportional font, but I want to use a fixed font. Oh, what is it called? It's not fixed, it's monospace, that's right. Or really, I want to have that part of it monospace, but in order to do that, I have to have a, what do you call it? A container to hold 3 different labels. Maybe we'll add that refinement later. Or 5. There we go. Okay, so if I don't move a mouse around, it's very quick, only a millisecond. Started moving the mouse around, it's taking longer. I wonder why. Why would it take longer if I'm moving the mouse around? Or if I move the window around, looks like it takes longer. Okay, now I'm not moving the mouse and it's taking more than a millisecond. What gives? That's really bizarre. Now when I move the mouse, it takes less time to render, and if I stop moving the mouse, it's taking more. I think that 10, by the way, in here, when I made the thing, is the number of samples, right? If I made that 1,000, it'd probably be stop that. Stop chewing on my cables. Probably be a lot slower to ramp up, but more smooth, right? Yeah. So then probably what I want to do is make that number be based off of the frame rate, which is a constant that is in the integration layer here that I should probably move out, right? This max draw rate. But that's only if we're drawing consistently. Well, okay, let's just move it out. Move that out to main. I have too many things open. Close, close, close. Okay, and plop it down here somewhere. How about at the top, right here? And that means I have to import it where I use it here. Import from the crate. Yay. Then where let's make another constant based off of the frame rate. So like const time. How come my caps lock's not working? There it goes. Time measurement period. Or seconds. This has to be a U size, I think. Actually, no, I'm going to be multiplying it by the max draw rate. And then converting it to an int, right? So might as well make it the same type as the max draw rate. So average over how many seconds? I don't know, 5. This is the duration over which to average all time measurements. Okay. So where was that again? Right here, this 1000. Let me verify that that is actually the window size. Yeah, window size, and it is a U size. So we're gonna have to let's just make a name. So perimeter time measurements window size, a very long name, equals max draw rate times the time measurement seconds, all of that as an F64. Actually, isn't it better if you can to do F64 from? And then I can use that here. Or even better, if that has to be a U, that's a U size. Oh, that has to be a const? Oh, shoot. Okay. It has to be known at compile time. So we'll have to compute it up here, I guess. Cap case. Transform to snake case. That didn't work. Upper snake case. Uppercase. There we go. So that's a const. Declare its type. Okay, so we can't use the from way, so the other way is to just force it, right? To coerce. All right. All constants deserve a comment. Hey there, Sarian. How are you doing? Got it. Love it being const. That's right. This is the number of time measurements to over which to average to get the average render time. Okay. Horrendously long constant name goes there. Should try to think of a shorter name. All right, let's run it. Just finished an 8-kilometer walk in a temperature that is too hot. I am feeling good about this new schedule. Waking up earlier in the morning, doing a stream before work, and then going to bed earlier, more aligned with daylight hours. I think this will be a good thing. Okay, so now we have that average render time. Anybody have a clue why the render time goes up if I move the mouse? And then goes up again when I stop moving the mouse, and when I move the mouse again, it goes back down? Because that is kind of weird to me. See, it's creeping back up into 11, 12, 13. Then I start to move the mouse around, and it goes back down. Back down to 9. Stop moving the mouse, it starts to creep up again. That's like opposite of what I expected. Makes me think I have a bug. One way to make sure that it's doing the right thing is we can force a sleep in there. Right? We could just say, what is it, thread? I can't remember off the top of my head. Is it standard thread sleep? Yeah. Standard thread sleep. Duration from milliseconds 10. Let's put an extra 10 milliseconds of sleep of delay in there, right? Now the number should be 10 higher than it was before. Is the redraw being triggered on user input? Yes. Does moving the mouse off the window make it go down? We can try that. See, that didn't add exactly 10 milliseconds, but it is kind of sloppy, the thread sleep, right? So moving it out of the window and moving the mouse around. Yeah, it's not affected by mouse movement outside the window. It's when the mouse is moving inside the window. Now it's doing what I expect. You know, processing more of... Actually, why would it matter if it processes more events? It's the actual render time. It shouldn't be affected by those events, even if we process more of them. What's the budget that we have? Like, what's 1/60? 16 milliseconds? That bothers me that we have to complete the draw within 16.6 milliseconds and we're already at 10. Maybe when there's no input, even it renders. It's rendering a lot because of that spinner. It's rendering a lot of times because of that spinner. But this is the average in one render time. Like how long it takes to draw this triangle and to compute all this GUI stuff. Why would it be so high even in the release build? I feel like I'm... Oh, because we added 10. That's why. Let me add something more significant, like 100. You should see the frame rate drop, but the measurement should be closer to 100, right? There we go. So the frame rate's definitely lower. Okay, so it's probably correct. You know, but it's closer to 1 millisecond other than that sleep. It makes me think that there's some kind of, I don't know, some kind of like minimum amount of time something is taking. I wonder what it is. Okay, if I don't touch the mouse at all, that actually probably is the correct amount of time, right? 1 millisecond. So why is it that moving the mouse around starts to bump that number up? Oh, maybe it's because we're drawing too fast? Maybe I have a bug and I'm re-rendering too fast. Or why would rendering too fast cause the render time to shoot up? Yeah, that is right. Like if I'm going in and out, it is drawing a lot, but why would an individual draw take longer? And then now I'm stopped, but it's shooting back up to 13. I kind of feel like I messed something up. Oh, now it's going back down. Is the window size too long, maybe? That's probably what it is. It's lag in the measurement window. It's too long. Just waiting it out to see if it'll drop back down if I wait long enough. Not though. Weird. 13. Yeah, it's very late. I don't know. I don't get it. Am I obsessing over it too much? Maybe. Drop that down to 2? Schrodinger's heat sink. It's really weird. I feel like there's a bug, but I didn't write this window average thing. Okay. Goes up when I'm moving the mouse around. Now it's staying high. I don't know what's going on. Moving the mouse completely out of the window. It's still taking a long time. You know, I'm just not going to worry about it anymore. So in addition to the render time, I'd really like to get the FPS. How would I do that? I'd have to have a counter that resets every second, right? Then have another window for that. So another constant and another window size. This is the not a duration. Is it? I guess it is the duration over which to average all FPS, frames per second. FPS. That needs to be longer, right? Because actually no, it doesn't need to be longer. It's just a moving average. But then how do I sample? How do I how do I do this? How does one measure FPS? Isn't it just you have a sliding window and you don't get the average, you just get the sum or the number of measurements? Ah, I think I need to make my own type because it's not a simple moving average. It's things have to come out of the queue when they become a second old, not when they've reached. So it's not a fixed window size. Maybe there's another type here in the moving average that handles that. No sum? Doesn't catch. That's not what we want. Sum tree? Oh, I think I'm making my own. I want a window where something goes out when it becomes more than a second old. And one samples go in. The sample will be the time at which we sampled it, right? And the FPS will be just 1 divided by the size of the window. Yeah, 1 second divided by the average frame time. No, this isn't. Well, yes. Depends on what you mean by frame time, because what I was drawing. Comment this out for a second. What So I'm not making it draw as fast as possible. So I'm not measuring the time between renders. I'm measuring the time it takes to render. So it should be like no more than 60 FPS, but it does render faster than 60 FPS. We're rendering faster than real time, right? The inverse of this time would be the maximum possible frame rate, but it's not the actual frame rate. I wanted to see the actual frame rate. Okay, so yeah, let's keep that as a 2, but then I don't have a constant for the other thing, and I'm going to have my own type. So let's make a type. New one called, I don't know, FPS window. Let's just call it FPS. And from the main, I need to include it as a module. Yes, yes, I already did that. Okay, so struct FPS. So we're gonna have like samples as a vec DQ of, I guess, just F64s. And then impl FPS. Really, I only need one function, right? Update. So there'll be a new sample, and it's going to return me the FPS, which is also that number. So we're always going to push into the samples. My typing doesn't get any better when I work in the morning versus the night. I just noticed, hey there, Ramy. Long time no see. Yeah, I've decided to try out a new sleep schedule and a new streaming schedule. So going to sleep earlier, waking up earlier, and then streaming before work instead of after. That said, kind of does give me a somewhat, not a hard limit to when I have to stop, but sort of, kind of, depending on what meetings I have. Today I don't have any morning meetings, so I could probably stream longer, but I do need to drive into work, so I probably have another hour and a half before I have to stop. I have streamed two other times, Ramy. You missed them. It was during the morning, and Dorn was there. Where were you? Okay, so this should push, right? Why is there no push? I thought that was a thing. Because DQ is not defined. We have to import it from collections. Is it not push? What is it called? Is it called... It should be called push, right? Is it just... It's not append. Push back, right, because we might push in the front. Okay, and then basically it's while the front and the back, the difference is greater than the, well, we should just, we should have that be a constant in here, right? What do we call it? Window size? Size, I guess. We're going to need a new size. Samples is just DQ new. Size is size. Okay, just leave that the way it is, right? Okay, so while self.samples.back minus self.samples.front is greater than self.size, self.samples.popback. And I forgot to close that window. I have the other problem where if it becomes empty, right? If self.samples, it shouldn't ever happen. Should I just put an assert there? I should just let it panic if that were to happen. So at the end, what we want to return is actually we're not returning an F64, are we? We're returning an integer. It'll be an integer number. No, it will be a float because we want to take that integer and divide by the size. So it'll be self.samples.length, I guess. Length as an F64 divided by self.size. And why can I not subtract? Because I need to dereference them. And why can I not dereference them? Because that's optional. Well, we're going to just unwrap them. And that's the panic I mentioned. We're always pushing at least one sample, and if there's only one sample, the difference should be 0, so we never really should panic, right? Worst case, we'll just get 1 over the window size, right? Should I be subtracting 1 from that so that the worst case would be infinity? Or just leave it as 1? I'm not sure. Yeah, wgpu is one thing I'm learning. Sort of like a wrapper on top, like an abstraction on top of your favorite graphics library, whether it's OpenGL, Vulkan, Metal, WebGL. I missed one, but DirectX. It's a layer above all those, right? So it's kind of cool. I like abstractions that are cross-platform, and it's a new one that I didn't know about until recently. And then egui is what I'm integrating with it, and that's drawing an interface on top of it. This thing. So we drawing this text, I don't have to figure out how to import font maps and calculate text geometries. I just let the GUI do this, and it's got a bunch of different UI elements, and it has its own state management, so it's kind of cool. Okay, so I'm going to use this now, I hope, using it correctly. I'm kind of lost. I've got too many things in this file. I wonder if I should move some of this stuff out. So lost. Okay, here we go. So there's our time measurements. So let's let mute FPS measurements equal PS new that. We'll have to import it from our own module. Oh, I can't import it unless I make it public. So we need to make the new and the update public. There we go. Okay, so it's the same kind of thing down here, right? Oh, hold on. I'm adding it, but I'm sampling in a different spot. So I really need to split this up, right? So that would just be this, right? FN, like report self goes to F64. And then this doesn't return anything. Then down here, I could just add update. I want to get this one once, right? So let oh, actually, no, these are different measurements. Right. I actually want an absolute time for this. That means I could do it at the front. So I could undo this. Well, let's keep them separate. It's more flexible that way. I can do them at the front instead of at the end. Because I'm going to be using absolute times up here. So FPS measurements update, and the sample is just absolute time. So instant, we'll just render start, right? Duration, we could just use a duration since some arbitrary point. Well, actually, that means that why don't we use an instant outside of here and just use the elapsed of that. So let, I don't know, app start. And then this is app start elapsed as seconds. And then the output is FPS. So then we'll give that to the overlay, right? So instead of a let, I can just say info overlay dot FPS is that. Let's put it here. And then in the overlay, add an FPS up here. And then we'll add a label for it. FPS. Okay. Run that. First try? Nope. My error. Wait, mismatched types? Oh, right, because I split it. Yeah. I split it and then I immediately forgot that I split it into two things. Report. There. You actually wake up at 5:30? So that's a half an hour before I wake up. And yeah, right now it is the afternoon for you guys, right? Yeah, I made sure to start the stream after the sun rose in Europe this morning for you. Gonna start questioning what year it is? As you should, because he's not going to begin streaming until next year? Actually, or is he streaming later this year? So we are going at a solid 60 FPS. What if I move the mouse around? No, it's stuck at 60. Well, that answers that. We're locked at 60. I kind of question that though. Maybe what I should do is hide the spinner. Let's hide the spinner. One line is all that's needed to hide the spinner. Oh, I said MS. It should be FPS. I should just remove that. Oh. I have a panic. Overflow when adding duration to instant. Really? Ah, gonna make me type it, isn't it? And just like copy and then paste. Very rare do I get a panic in Rust. Wait, what? In my closure somewhere, but it didn't say what line number. I think I might know what the bug is. But let me fix this overlay first. It should not have that. Oh, this should be pop front. That's probably why, right? Maybe that's why it was showing a solid 60 and nothing else. Nope, I still have a problem. All I really did was I commented out the spinner, right? So I have a bug. Not drawing the spinner exposed it. Why is that? Okay, so it does. So I did have a bug with it wasn't exactly 60. Popping from the back was a bug. Popping from the front, now you can see when I move the mouse around, it actually draws faster than 60. And when I stop moving the mouse, it settles back to 60. Why is it exactly either 0.0 or 0.5? Is that inaccuracy in my time measurement? How am I measuring the FPS? The way I'm measuring it is I take a sample of the time before anything at the beginning of the app, and then every time I render, I take the amount of time that's elapsed since the app started and send it into the update of this measurements, this FPS thing, right? And then that pushes that sample into a queue. And then while the back minus the front of the queue is greater than the size I want, I pop one off the front. So basically, enough samples get in there so the difference between the front and the back is my window. And then I take that number of samples and divide by that window size to get the FPS. Anybody see a bug there? 3 streams already, no cat cam yet. Haven't you seen the cat? I can't have a cat cam if the cat is like everywhere. This cat is like only 7 months old and like is constantly moving around the house. It hasn't settled on any one place I could put a camera in. I think this is correct, but I don't know why it's crashing when I don't draw the spinner. Why would not drawing the spinner be a problem? It's panicking, unwinding something. It's expecting something in instant add. Add. Why would it be adding? Is that a clue? I'm adding something here. Is it elapsed that doesn't add? No, it does a subtraction, but maybe that is an add. Standard time instant s add. Get it? Is it an instant now? Or no? Do I need to do a checked add? Don't know. I have no idea why I'm getting this. Is it that it's a problem if no? Why would it matter if I have a spinner or not? I'm really confused. You don't see above, but interesting implementation. What's the difference between samples length and this size? Size is probably the word size is probably the wrong word. So this is supposed to be like how wide the window is in time. So if it's 10, that means we're going to wait 10. We're going to build up data until we have 10 seconds worth of data. Right now it's 2, so it builds up until it has the last 2 seconds of times that every frame started at, right? So if we're doing it at 60 FPS and it's nice regular 60 FPS, we'll get 120 samples divided by 2, which will be 60. Top of the backtrace, do you think there was something? The top of the overflow when adding duration to instant. Okay, that is something. Adding duration to instant? Why was I doing that? Where am I doing that? Does elapsed add a duration to an instant? Hold on, what if I just comment that part out? Oh, I also need to make sure that I don't divide by 0 there. If self.size equals 0, or self.empty, self.samp, oh no, we're dividing by a constant that's not 0. So there's no samples at all, this will be 0. So that's fine. I don't need to worry about that. Yeah, so this, let's see what this does. I'm also running the release build. Maybe I should run the debug build and I get more info. Not that. Is it the other thing? Is it this one? Or is it the add at the end? Might be the add at the end, actually. Oh, if you add... Okay, I think I might know what it is. It might be the add down here at the end. This one? To comment that out, what do I get? Nope, that's not it. I'm kind of stuck. Overflow when adding duration to instant. Okay, what if I don't do a release build? Nope. Ooh. Okay, I have a line number to look at. Line 111 here. Oh, interesting. So it's completely unrelated. Repaint after. Now is the current time. Repaint after maybe is bad. What if we just log what it is? I have a lot of typos. Not sure what to do about that other than maybe slow down my typing. I'll blame the keyboard manufacturer. Oh, it's when it gives me the forever time. That's what it is. Oh, so I only didn't see this until now because it always wants to repaint constantly when the spinner is going. I guess I need to handle this special case, right? So that's like I think that's like an all ones it ends up being, right? So I need to handle that special case. Comes out of the redraw. This repaint after, right? So does duration have like an infinite that I could check? Maybe. So back out to here. So basically, I want to skip this if I'm not asked to repaint. So is that? Let's see if repaint does it have an is infinite? No. How do you check if a duration is all ones? Well, I could say that it as seconds, I guess, greater than 1, right? Only if it's less than 1. It's greater than 1, then like why bother scheduling it? I feel this is a hack. What they're really doing is they're giving me a duration that's like I guess all ones, like the largest duration you can give. And I was hoping that duration would have a method saying like is infinite. We're gonna get a lot of log spam now. Yeah, whatever that number is, it's like infinity or something. Why is it like not capped at 60 anymore? Hey there, Metal Storm. There's the duration max constant. Is that what I should be looking at? But now I have a new problem where it's drawing faster than 60 frames per second. I didn't expect that. It should totally skip that. So I shouldn't get this event anymore. Why am I still getting it? Maybe I need to clear it or something. Control flow. Clear? Oh. I guess not. I guess I can go back to looking at events here. So, event. This sequence of characters is actually really hard to type on my keyboard because I'm alternating between two shift modifiers for every character. I realized as I was typing that I'm like, whoa, there's a lot of changes and modifiers going on here if I'm thinking about it. Okay, let's see all of those events again. Yeah, I'll try using that duration max constant and see. So what's going on? Roll up here. Redraw events cleared. New events, resume time reached. Do I just need to clear the redraw events clear? This new event, resume time reached, keeps happening. Maybe there's a bug and I'm setting it somehow. Set next draw time. Oh. Set wait until. Just want to see if that's actually happening in that case. Don't you just love it when Raimu's stuck on a bug? Okay. New events. Made events cleared. Redraw requested. Why? Who asked for a redraw? Yeah, that time instant isn't changing. Maybe I need to clear it somehow. I think it's what it is. I need to clear the resume time. So I need to look at how that actually works. Was that W init? Yeah, it was this stuff. This example only shows setting it. It doesn't show clearing it. I don't know. Oh, do I have to just move it back to set wait? I think that's what it is. I need to set it back to wait. Suspend the thread until another event right. Okay, that's probably what it is. So I do have to have an else, but I don't do it set and wait until. I just do set wait. That. Interesting. I wouldn't think that they'd like force you to clear it every time. Okay, there we go. So fixed it. But now since it's not updating, the FPS counter doesn't actually update until we move the mouse a little bit. That's funny. Oh, one side effect of the way I implemented that FPS counter, it'll never be lower than my window size of 2 seconds. The number will never be lower than 2, which I think is fine because, like, if we are rendering continuously, we always do it at least 2 FPS, right? So we do draw faster than 60 if we're moving the mouse a lot. So I must, it must be just, yeah, I'm not capping it there. All right, so let's fix some stuff. I don't need this anymore. We wanted to try if repaint after it equals duration max, right? Then wait, otherwise do that. And then I don't need to print out the events anymore. I can delete all this extra stuff. $144 FPS win? I could do it. I just changed the constant. Hey there, Epic Unknown. How are you doing? Should I put my spinner back and see what it is? See, I removed the cool spinner so that I could show you what the FPS does if, like, we sit there not doing much. Like, it. There's a chicken and the egg problem where the FPS counter won't update because there's no drawing actually happening at all. It's just completely frozen. If I move the mouse after waiting a bit, then the number is low, right? Let's put the spinner back. We should see it, like, climb to 60, right? Within 2 seconds, yeah, and sort of stay around there. Maybe go up as we move the mouse around a little bit. Oh yeah, I commented out the render time thing. I put that back in. Yeah, there we go. Should fix this warning about the surface color space. There we go. Still don't know why the average render time goes up when we move the mouse around. Because it shouldn't have anything to do with that. Other than that, it is going past 60 FPS. But why would that matter? And how would I cap the FPS if we're drawing because of mouse movements? That comes from egui saying we want to render immediately, right? Or does it? It's this, I think. It'll request a redraw immediately. If I wanted to cap it, I'd have to, I think, do this kind of stuff. I don't think I actually care that much to cap it. I just wanted to cap when there's an animation to be no faster than 60 FPS. But if we're moving the mouse rapidly enough that it's drawing really quickly, do I care that it might go above 60? No, not really. I think I'm just going to move on to the next thing. So we're going to check that in. Git commit. Isn't there some built-in mechanism in the library to cap the FPS? Which library? You mean winit? I don't know. It looked like there wasn't. I couldn't find any. This event loop in winit just seemed like it ran as fast as you wanted it to. So, summary of what I did. Added the simple moving average to track the average render time. Okay, so show average render time and FPS. Close. Okay, should I move on to drawing something more interesting? So instead of a triangle, how about we draw a cube? And to make it interesting, we'll make the cube rotate. So to do that, I need to update my shader to take in 3D coordinates and then apply a view matrix, or at least a perspective matrix, right? To give a perspective, and then we can have a view matrix that just rotates the cube slowly around. Let's just start with the cube. Hey there, poison process. Yeah, this is drawn with wgpu, and the UI elements on top is egui, which I've integrated into this. We're done with that. We're done with the overlay for now. We're done with that. So it's the thing we're drawing, this triangle model, that I need to change, right? Let me change this more to like, just call it, because it's not going to be a triangle. And we're just changing it to cube. Cube model. And that means we're changing this name to cube model. All right, the cube model vertex has now 3 dimensions instead of 2. Is wgpu used in browsers? So wgpu is an abstraction layer, like a wrapper, around many different graphics libraries. WebGL is one of them, so it can be used in the browser, like this demo over here. So this is all drawn with egui, but it's inside of a browser window because it's using the WebGL backend of egui, whereas my program is using, I think, OpenGL right now. But I could, if I wanted to, I could force it to use Vulkan. And if I was running this directly on a Mac, it would use it. You could tell it to use Metal. If you're on Windows, you could tell it to use DirectX. So it kind of abstracts away what actual graphics library is used and lets you just use one API no matter where you're running it. That's essentially what it is. So its API is designed to like support all of those potential different graphics libraries. So it doesn't look like any one of them, really. Hey there, Clavinex. Nice to have you come into the chat. So yeah, the API looks similar to like others, like Metal or Vulkan, but it's different from all of them. So like the way you describe the layout of a buffer looks kind of similar if you've used OpenGL or something, or Vulkan or something like that. You'll see some similarities. Like there are vertex attributes in pretty much any graphic library, but in WGL, it's this particular structure, right? The vertex attribute structure, the format where the offset from the start of the input, and then which slot in the vertex shader it goes with, right? And the vertex formats here are the variants you can have. So you can it kind of makes sense looking at it, but the names are different than other graphics libraries. So under the hood, it translates this information to whatever corresponding it is in the actual library it picks, whether it's OpenGL or Vulkan or Metal or whatever. So we're going to change our description, right? Because it's now 3-dimensional. That means I need to have float 32 by 3 there. The offset of automatically will update because color moves down a little bit, right? And the stride of the vertex automatically changes for me. So I think that's all the change I needed to do there. Okay, so now we need to add another coordinate for all these places. If I do this correctly and can do them all at once and just add 0.0. And then I shouldn't need any other changes. It'll still draw it as a triangle. It'll have a useless third coordinate that we're not using. Oh wait, I didn't update the shader. Okay, the shader didn't care. All right, let's look at the shader. For some reason, it didn't care that slot 0 was actually getting a vec3. I guess what it does is it only looks at the first 2. We can update that now to 3. And so yeah, again, comparing wgpu with like OpenGL, you can see it kind of looks similar, only the syntax is different. And this is specifically, this is WGSL, and it turns out with wgpu, you have a choice of what shader language you can use. So I'm using WGSL, which just kind of goes along with wgpu, but you could also use GLSL, SpearV, or Naga, whatever that is. I have no idea. SpearV is what's used in Vulkan, I think. GLSL is OpenGL. So if you had existing OpenGL shaders, apparently you can use them with wgpu. But I felt like it made more sense to use the shader language that was sort of designed with wgpu itself. All right, so I want to remove that coordinate because now it's coming in with the vertex attribute, right? That should be the only thing I had to modify. So if it did this right, no change visible. Right? Cool. Now let's actually make it a cube. And this is where it's going to screw up the drawing until I add a perspective transform. So that talks to our model. So a cube has 8 vertices, right? Not just 3. So thinking of the z coordinate or z coordinate as traditionally up and down, that would mean like if I wanted to describe the top of the cube would be like -1, -1, and then the top would be like 1, right? And then it doesn't matter which order, I'll just go counterclockwise. So then that would be like if x is right, y is forward, and z is up. Right hand rule tells me what? That, right, if x is to the right and y is forward, then z is up, right? If that's the right hand rule. So -1, -1 would be left and front. The next would be to the right of that, so +1, 0. Y coordinate stays the same, right? Z is 1. And then the next one after that, going counterclockwise, would be the right back, which would be 1, 1, 1. Why did I write a 1 there? I don't know. Okay, and then the back left would be -1, 1. Cool. And then let's just repeat that for the bottom. So in all of these, then there's a -1 for the z or z coordinate. So those are the 8 vertices of a cube, right? So then we have to describe all the triangles. So the first triangle would be, yeah, 0, 1, 2. So I don't get confused. Let me, this is the top, right? The top is 0, 1, 2, and then 0, 1, 2, and then it has to stay counterclockwise, right? So 2, 3, 0. Is that right? 0, 1, and 2, and then 2, 3, 0 is the other triangle. Or I could do 0, 2, 3. Doesn't matter, right? Hi, Bo. Utsby, how are you doing? Time to break out the graph paper? Yeah, maybe. Oh, why did I say hi to Utsby again? You've been here. I need a comma there. Okay. Oh, I need to tell the formatter to back off from this section. I don't remember how to do that. Let's look it up. Oh, how do we tell Rust format to back off? Rust FMT disable locally. Here we go. And look, it's the same kind of thing. Rust FMT skip. I love the internet. There. Now it doesn't mess with my nice thing arrangement here. So top, let's do the bottom. So the bottom 0, 1, 2, 3, 6. So you'd be like 6, 5, 4 if we want to stay counterclockwise, right? I'm trying to visualize the cube and then turning it upside down. 4, 5, 6. So yeah, it'd be 6, 5, 4. We'll get interesting bugs if I do this wrong. 6, 5, 4. 6, 5, 4, and then 4, 7. Six, right? 5, 6, 7. 6, 5, 4, 4, 7, 6. Yeah. In my mind, that looks correct to me. Planning to ship from PHP to Rust. What do I think? I think I know very little about PHP, so I'm not a really good. My opinion doesn't really count for very much as far as PHP. But the fact that you're going to Rust sounds cool. I love Rust. That's why I'm coding in it today. Forgot a face. So we got bottom, top. We're going to have left, right, front, and back, right? Okay, left. It's going to be, if I start at 0, next one would be 3, and then down, which would be 5, 7. So then it would be 7, 4, 0. Okay, so the right, we want to start at 1, go down, so that's 5, and then across, which is 6. And then from 6, we'd want to go up, which is 2, and then back to 1. Okay, so front, we can start at 0. We want to go down from there, which is 4, and then to the right, which is 5. And then from 5, we want to go up, which is 1, and then back to 0. Yeah. Okay, and in the back, we'll start at 3 and go across to the right to 2, and then down to 6. And then from 6, go to the left, which is 7, and then up back to 3. Okay, I think I got it. So rendering this without any camera change, we'll be inside of the cube and we won't see anything, right? So I expect not to see anything when I draw this. Also, the cube is too big. Okay, we are seeing some side of it. I didn't update the texture, the color coordinates, did I? They're just all kind of random. I guess that doesn't matter. I didn't actually expect to see anything because if we're at 0, 0, 0, like, we shouldn't see anything, right? Oh, maybe we're seeing the very top face. So a couple things I want to do. I want to like scale it down as like a first test to see, can I apply a scaling factor? So I'm going to have to add a matrix. This is where I got to start looking things up because I don't know what the type is for a matrix with WGSL. Do you have any plans for wgpu or just learning? Just learning because I'm interested. Probably use it for other hobby projects. Also, viewers in the past were like asking me, why am I doing OpenGL and WebGL? Why don't I move to wgpu? And I didn't have a good answer. So I'm like, they're probably right. It's the vertex shader. We need to do this, right? So the model, vertex input, yeah, no, it's not the vertex attribute. We actually need to introduce a uniform, right? And I don't know how to do that yet. So should I just look it up? A wrong place. We want Google. wgpu uniform. Oh, right. It's the tutorial. Oh, they talk about how to do exactly what I want, a perspective camera. But I want to just look at the WGL, or the shader part. How do we use it in the shader? There we go. Okay, so we have a group binding variable, and that's a uniform. What is group and what is binding? There's a bind group to specify which one. So what does... Oh, okay, so there's a binding group 1, and within that group, which binding, I guess. So why don't I just copy this as is? Because why not? Right? That's what tutorials are for you to steal code from. But I will change the names to protect the innocent. This is just like transform, right? And why don't we just call it uniforms? Or vertex uniforms? That's what it is, right? Var uniform vertex uniforms. We don't need that comment anymore. Okay. So then backing up in the tutorial, like how do we have to declare it and then we have to fill it in, right? They probably start with how we declare it. Should I use CG Math? They talk about like different like math libraries we could use. What was the math library I was using before? Was it like N algebra? I could use that. What am I using for vectors though? I think I was just using arrays. Yeah, okay, so I'll have to pick up a math library, but not quite yet, right? Ooh. Thank to the state. Okay, the uniform buffer. Okay, so we'll define a struct, and that struct just holds it, and they use byte muck pod, which is useful. We'll probably do the same thing. That lets us get it to a byte buffer. You see? Okay, here it is. It's device create buffer init. So why don't I just copy this and modify it for my own purposes? So back in probably the WGL init, WGPU init, right? Yeah, so we created some buffers at some point. Did I not do it here? Where'd I create buffers? I created in the model itself. I guess that's what we do want. Just put it here. So this is like uniforms buffer. Or vertex uniforms. This is really vertex attribute. Okay, and this where we do bite muck cast slice, I'm going to need to have my structure provided to this at some point, right? Wait a minute. It's not going to be constant, right? Why did, in the tutorial, did they make it constant? After creating the camera, I guess they create it with its initial contents. Yeah, fine. I don't think I need to do that though, right? Can't I just use like an empty array or just leave the contents out? Shouldn't contents be optional? Is there like a create buffer without an init? Looking in the wrong file, I think. Let me just see if can I type create buffer? Yeah, I can just type create buffer and I don't need to init it, right? I don't use a buffer init. What do I use? I use a buffer descriptor, which label size usage. Okay. Buffer descriptor instead of a buffer init descriptor. Oh. Where is this type described? I guess what I'll do is I'll remove this part of it. The, what do I get? Qualify as wgpu buffer descriptor. Okay. Label. Usage. I need a size and I need a mapped at creation. Okay. Suppose I can do that if I hit command dot fill struct fields. There we go. Size, we're going to use, what is it? The, I forget what that is in Rust now. I know what it is in Swift. I can just search for where we set up the offset of. It's standard mem size of, that's what it is. Size is standard mem size of, and then I had a type for this, right? Or I had it in mind, it would be vertex uniforms. Okay, then mapped at creation is true, I guess. I don't know. And I need to declare this type. Up here, I guess. Oh, that's right. I wrote it in the shader. I didn't write it in Rust, though. So I need to port that to Rust. And here's where I need to pick the library, right? I would like to use Nalgebra. Thank you for using my bot commands. That's what they're for. Let me know if you have any questions about any of that. I want Nalgebra. Should guess what version number it is. Is it 1.0 yet? No, it's 0.32 apparently. Yeah. Okay. Then it's like Nalgebra matrix or something like that, right? I guess I gotta wait for Rust Analyzer to catch up. Matrix, here we go. Matrix 4x4. Oh, wait. Matrix 4. Matrix 4 of F32s. And then we'll do the same thing. So this junk in front lets me like cast it to bytes. Uh-oh. Byte muck pod is not satisfied for a matrix in algebra. Maybe I have to enable a feature. Let's search the internet. Algebra byte muck. There's an open issue for it. I don't remember how I cast it to a byte array for algebra matrix to vec of bytes. Okay, I'm probably going about this the wrong way. What if I go back to home, go to libs, go to algebra, and just look at the features we can enable. Convert byte muck. That's what we want, I think. So back in here, go to here and elaborate. Say its version equals that, and the features we want include convert byte muck. And look at that. Well, hopefully, I shouldn't. Yeah, look at that. No more error. It supports byte muck. Okay, the size needs to be U size. So can I do U size? Can I just do an into? Can't do a U64 into a size. So do I do as U size? I guess. I always get this wrong and I have to try it various times. Oh, it's the other way around. U64. Here we go. Never heard of which one? Algebra or ByteMuck or what? Hey there, 715209. Good morning. I'm streaming in my morning time. We'll see how this works out. You can close this now, right? Okay, so this sets up the uniform buffer. Now I have to actually fill it at some point, right? What does this mapped at creation mean again? Allows the buffer to be mapped immediately after they are made. It does not have to be read or write. All buffers are allowed to be mapped at creation. If it's true, the size must be a multiple of the buffer alignment. I guess I don't really care. I'll just leave it. Get back to the tutorial. Right. We have to put it into a bind group so that like wgpu knows to connect it to the shader. So we're basically binding a buffer of type uniform to the vertex shader with a certain group number, right? Is that what that means? Set visibility to vertex, because the vertex shader can see it. The location of the data in the buffer may change. It sets false. Min binding size is none. So somebody's the smallest size of buffer. We don't have to specify this. Okay. Okay, there's a layout for the group, and then there's the actual group based off of the layout. And it has an entry. Okay. So binding is 0 in both of them. But why didn't the shader did we put a 1? Group 1. Oh, I wonder if that's correct. Because they had 2 of them, diffuse and camera. So for me it'll be 0 because I don't need more than 1. So make that 0, and then so I just need to like do what they did. So this seems to me boilerplate. We can just copy it. And this is at setup time, right? Make a render pipeline. So we'll make a bind group for vertex uniforms. So it's a visibility vertex. It's a buffer of uniforms, and we're going to call it vertex uniforms bind group layout. All right. And then once we have the layout, then we actually make the group. Vertex uniforms bind group. And I totally misspelled that word. Vertex uniforms buffer as entire binding. That's the buffer that we made. So that ties the buffer to the layout of the buffer and assigns it a binding number. Well, the binding number correlates these two together, right? And then we repeat that in the shader. Okay. Then we have to register it in the pipeline. Right, so bind group layouts was empty. Now we're going to add to it, right? Okay, so that means I need to move this, right? We need to have this before we actually make the render pipeline layout. Right there. Okay. So we make the bind group layout, make the bind group. Okay, I need to move the buffer. We need to create the buffer first. Let's create the buffer first, then create the bind group layout, then create the bind group. Oh, I moved the wrong buffer. The uniforms buffer. Up here. Make the uniforms buffer, make the bind group layout, then make the bind group, and then we have to add it here, right? Add the bind group to the bind group. Oh, they want the layout, not the group. Like that, right? Yeah, they want the layout. Then we add the buffer to our state. What do we do with the actual bind group then? What do we do with the camera bind group? It's not used anywhere. Maybe they talk about it using it in the render layout. Where do we use it? Months back, you watched my TCP/IP videos. You loved them? Oh, I'm glad you loved them. Hey there, Matthew. How are you doing? Yep, long time no see. Streaming now in this time slot, 7 to 9-ish or 10-ish Pacific time. This is the first time I'm trying this schedule. Let's see how it goes. I really want to know what happened to this camera bind group, why they don't use it after this point. So I'm going to search for it. How come find isn't working? Oh, because it's the other control F. Oh, okay, we need to save it for later. We need to have a buffer in our state and have the bind group for use later. So where do we actually use that? Okay, we use it in the render pass. Okay, that means, yeah, so why don't I just add that now? After we set pipeline, we have to set a bind group around where we're setting the index buffer. So that would be in the draw, right? Down here somewhere. Where did I do that? In render setup, I guess? Yeah, no. Where do I set up the render pass? That update buffers? Oh, I don't know how I ended up there. Oh, because that's inside of egui, so never mind. Where's the render pass? Inside of draw. Here we go. Here's our render pass. Inside of the model. Here it is. Found it. So render pass. Here's where we set our buffers. Now we also have to send our bind group. So our bind group was on the vertex uniforms. Right? So we need to add that. to our own state. And then what's the type? The type is bind group. Should have known. Bind. Okay, it's not letting me type. Lost my keyboard. I can't type anything. I lost my keyboard. What happened to my keyboard? What to do if you lose your keyboard? The keyboard doesn't work inside the virtual machine. Working outside the virtual machine. Do I shut the virtual machine down and then bring it back up? Maybe I disconnected it somehow. Devices, keyboard. No. USB keyboard. Allow. It didn't work. Okay, I don't know how, but I can no longer type inside my virtual machine. What kind of VM? Parallels. I must have hit some weird key and Google search parallels. Keyboard not working. Issue with keyboard becoming completely unresponsive. There's a thread for it. Try connecting your keyboard as a USB device. That's what I tried. It didn't work. What if we reconnect the keyboard? Worth a try. Bloop. And plug it back in. Thing is, it's going through a KVM switch. I don't know if that does anything weird. Nope. I think I gotta shut down the VM. So I will, this is gonna go poof. And then I'll bring it back. Nope, that didn't work. Well, shoot. How do I fix this? Oh, wait, there's buttons at the top. Maybe I have to... I wish I knew what I did. Lose the keyboard in the VM. Hold on. The window capture also got lost. There. See it again. The thing is, it's not just one keyboard, it's both of my keyboards. No longer, the keys aren't actually make it to the virtual machine anymore. I must have hit some weird key. So what could it have been? Can I send send a key? What I did. Reboot the thing, I guess. How do I do that from here? Can I do that with just the mouse? Log out. Restart. Worth a try. Restarting the virtual machine. There we go. Parallel. Yes, that's me. Keyboard's working again. So it's something you Ubuntu? Who knows? Good thing it reboots quickly. I didn't lose anything. Some kind of key lock? Yeah, maybe. Hey, but we're back. Bind group. I fudged on the keyboard, hitting some weird combination. I think that's what I'm gonna guess happened. Um. Okay, yeah, it just took a while for Rust Analyzer to boot back up, I guess. Okay, there's our bind group. Sorry about the problem there. Um, vertex buffers uniform bind group. Cool. So we have the bind group set up. We put it in our state. Um, it's in the state of our model, and we bind it when we're drawing. Then I need to. That means all my tabs got lost. Can I go down Chrome and say open last history? Can I just resume the last session? Restore window? There we go. Look at that. Chrome is awesome. Control Shift T. Is that a shortcut to get back all my tabs and stuff? I guess that's what it was, but now it doesn't show that anymore because all the tabs are open again. Okay, we're back. So do I need to do anything else? I need to update the actual values, right? Controller. Where do they update it? Here we go. Here we go, update. So it's Q write buffer. That's what I want. Wait, why is this showing two tabs? Oh, because I had an empty tab. I can close that one. Right. Gets the last one, but if you close entire window, it gets the entire session. I'll have to try to remember that. Control Shift T. So many keyboard combinations to memorize, though. Okay, so this is where we're drawing it, right? Where am I drawing it? Drawing it right here. So wouldn't I, like, right before doing draw indexed, I would update it? We don't have access to the queue from here. I guess I'll have to pass the queue in. So we'll have to be given the queue, and then we'll have to have the buffer also, right? Vertex uniforms buffer, and then we'll have to have the vertex uniforms. That doesn't need to be self, right? Because I can just create it on the fly every time. At least for now. So let's just put that there. And we'll say let vertex uniforms full X uniforms. All right, and let's just have like identity matrix to start with. So that's matrix for they have like identity in there, or what's the identity matrix also called? Is it just maybe new creates an identity one? Multiple arcs. So new is if I have all the code. So is it identity? It is identity. There we go. Identity matrix. Okay, and so that buffer I need to put inside of here too. I'm gonna guess it's just buffer. Okay, then that means we'll have to put it here. That doesn't automatically order it correctly, right? It didn't. It goes for the bind group. After the bind group. Before the bind group. Vertex buffer, vertex uniforms buffer. Well, I wanted to rename that so it's not ambiguous anymore. This is vertex attribute buffer. Attributes buffer. You got an offer for a Rust job. Awesome. I hope it's something that you'll enjoy. It's really important to enjoy your work. Okay. We need to borrow the queue. So queue is borrowed. I'm gonna guess it's just queue. There we go. So when we draw, we need to give it the render pass and the queue. Is it not called queue? Oh, draw. It needs to be passed in from draw to draw. So encoder view render. Let's put it here. Which then goes back to here. Hey, there we go. All right, so draw now calls. Okay, I wanted to rename this actually. It's not triangle model anymore, right? It's called cube model. The cube model draw now writes to the uniforms buffer whatever uniforms we set up here. Right now it's the identity matrix. In the shader, we have that transform available. Okay, so the next step would be to multiply the position by that. And I always get this backwards. Like, is it the matrix times the vector, or is it the vector times the matrix? I'm going to guess it's the matrix times the vector. But I would, like I said, I always get this backwards. So it's vertex uniforms dot transform times, right? Is the bot open source? No, but I did write the bot partially on stream a couple years ago. Most job postings you find are for crypto startups. I got one of those. Job offer for a crypto startup. I thought, like, if I was into going to a startup, it might be fun, but I'm really not into that kind of thing. It's kind of too risky for me. Yeah, those could either be really lucrative or really disastrous, depending on how it goes, right? Okay, if I did this right, we won't see any change. If I did it wrong, then it could just not compile or give me an error when I don't even need that WInit. That's the default right now, right? Let's see what I get. Do I get a shader compiler error, or does it just run? Okay, it's 9 o'clock, so I have to start thinking about winding down the stream. I don't know if I'm gonna actually get the... It would be cool if I got the cube to draw. But to do that, I gotta add a perspective projection, which I could probably just copy from the internet. Bye! Yeah, I know. Cat psycho. Whoa. So it's probably... Yeah, oh, queue submit validation error. Buffer is still mapped. Interesting. Is that because I did it at the wrong point? So what I did was I wrote to the buffer during the render pass. Maybe you're not supposed to do that. As a test, I could just not write to the buffer and see if that makes the panic go away. So yeah, I don't know. Still learning wgpu. I don't know if there are like limitations. Nope, that's not it. Something else. Oh, the panic stream is long. Okay. Buffer 01 is still mapped. View validation error. What did I do wrong? This, I don't know if there's going to be much clues in this long stack trace. I guess I can see where it's happening in my code, right? It's dropping a bunch of stuff while panicking. Wait, there in my main, but where? It doesn't say the line number. Panic in a function that can't unwind. Okay, so it was a panic caused by another panic. Interesting. Okay, so line 91. Went into my event loop. 41 Celsius, wow. Crazy. I'm gonna guess that this isn't really helpful. Yeah, it's just the top of my event loop. Then what's loop run? Is it somewhere else? Another panic? Panic. I did something to really piss off Rust, that's for sure. Is this it? Unwrap on a none value in device there. It's in the wait for the device. Huh. Okay, well, you know, general strategy for when you have no clue why something is crashing is to just kind of back out one at a time the things that we're doing. So I backed out writing to the queue. Do I back out the bind group then next? See if that fixes it. Won't be a bind group in the render pass. Okay, that wasn't it. We got a different error. The pipeline layout contains a bind group which is incompatible. Okay, so I should just remove the layout. Remove it from the pipeline layout, and we set that up where exactly? In this new, right? So we can just not use the bind layout. That is right here, right? So make it empty again. Oh, still crashing. Okay, the shader needs the group, so I'll have to comment it out in the shader. So yeah, put this back the way it was. Just that, and we don't actually have that anymore. I can declare the structure, though. That shouldn't be a problem. Okay, cool. Back to where we were. Very colorful face of a cube that we're seeing, and the GUI still works. All right, now I should probably try to add stuff back in one at a time, right? So we can bind it, but just not use it in the shader, right? So put it back into the pipeline layout. See what that does. Why does the FPS increase when you clicked? because I have a bug right now that window events disregard the frame rate cap and just immediately re-render. In render path contains a bind group which is incompatible with bind group layout. It's bind groups. Oh, incompatible. Maybe this is a hint. The pipeline layout and the render layout are not compatible about the bind group. So how does that? Is it the pipeline itself? Maybe that's it. I'm missing something in the render pipeline. Go back to here and see. Did they modify the render pipeline? Nope. So here's where they added that, right? And I commented out the set bind group. Oh, maybe that's what it is. I have to uncomment. It has to match. The render pass has to match, right? Guessing that's where it actually crashed. It crashed where? It didn't actually say where because it didn't put the Rust backtrace on it. Panic, panic. Backend, panic, all this stuff. Yes, so it's there. No, okay, it's creating the pipeline is bad. Wait, that's not the right line. Why does it say draw is at the... Oh, it's at the... Oh, it's when we're dropping the render pass. And it probably does all of its work, right? Yes, so it's probably inside of here. And that is necessary, probably. Okay, let's try it. Nope, still crashing. I'm doing something wrong. I'm missing something. What if I don't have the backtrace? Jeez, it's like really hard to read this. It's complaining about a buffer still being mapped, but I don't remember the tutorial talking about unmapping anything. Okay, let's go through this step by step to see if I missed anything. So they talk about making the structure for the camera, building a matrix, which right now I skipped because I just use a identity matrix. Talk about coordinate systems. They made an instance of it. Okay, they declared the uniform structure. I did. They created the uniform buffer for it. I did that, right? I must have. Great. Okay, one difference is I didn't call create buffer with init. Maybe I should just do that to see if maybe I screwed this one up. So the difference is that I need a contents. So I'll just have a copy of the identity matrix here. Cast slice. Vertex uniforms. Here, I'll just make a copy of this. Buffer init descriptor label contents usage. What's the error then? Oh, import it. Hold on, what? There? Cannot find it. Similarly named one is in wgpu. Type alias exists with a similar name. Consider importing. Yeah, why can't I do that? I want okay. The quick fix isn't working, so I need to do it by hand, which is to go up here and copy this. Actually, it's there. Oh, yeah, I shouldn't even be reaching in through util, should I? Shouldn't I be doing that? Oh, it's not available there? Then where was buffer descriptor? Weird. Why is one through utils and the other not? I don't know. Anyway, so we're creating just like the tutorial created it. So that's probably not it, but let's see if it is. It is. Okay, so that's where I screwed it up. Initializing the buffer. Maybe, because I just did create buffer without initializing, right? I did that. And it didn't like that. I guess I need to call some other kind of init function. The reason was I didn't want to have to initialize it there. So let's read the comments about this. Creates a buffer. What's wrong with that? I don't get it. Put it back to init. Skip mapping if the buffer is 0 sized, otherwise. There's where it calls create buffer, and then it does. Oh, we have to do an unmap? Maybe that's what I needed to do. Flushes any pending. Okay, is that what they did later when they updated it? They just did write buffer, but they didn't do anything after that. Create a buffer and copy it. Okay. Sounds like I need to read the documentation for buffer in wgpu, right? Buffer. There we go. Handle to GPU accessible buffer. Create with create buffer or create buffer init. So the tutorial uses this one. I used that one and ran into problems. So what did I do wrong? It just says creates a buffer. So what? Then I used a method of the queue, right? Called write buffer. Schedules a data write into the buffer starting at offset. This method is intended to have low performance cost, such the write is not immediately submitted, instead queued internally to happen at the next submit. Fails if data overruns the size of the buffer. I'm not doing that. Or did I not call write buffer? I'm in the wrong file. That's why. Back to here. Write buffer. I did comment that out. Let me uncomment that. Maybe that also is a problem. Nope. So we can call write buffer. That's not the problem. Okay, there's one uncommented. There's one commented out thing. Oh yeah, that's what we want. Okay, so then that's it comes down to that. That's the problem, right? The create buffer. This one. Let me have them side by side to show this. So the one I wanted to do was create buffer without initializing it. So that took that and had the size and mapped at creation true. Maybe there's a problem with that. Comment that out. And no contents. Okay, crashes, right? What if I do mapped at creation to false? Because I didn't really understand that parameter. Maybe that's causing it. Okay, that was what it was. the the Boolean flag that I don't understand was causing the problem. So can the manual help? Go back to buffer and go to create buffer. Where is it? Create buffer. And create buffer takes a buffer descriptor. Okay, let me read about mapped creation. Allows a buffer to be mapped immediately after made. It does not have to be map read or map write. All buffers are allowed to be mapped at creation. This is true. Size must be a multiple of copy buffer alignment. Maybe that's what I violated. 4. Well, the size should be a multiple of 4, right? Hey there, cat peasant. Greetings again. So I violated some rule by setting this to true. What could I have done wrong? Don't need these lines, by the way. That fixes it, right? Make sure I'm not going crazy. Run it once. Should work, right? Works. Change this one from false to true. Run it again. And it panics. And the panic is some obscure thing about a buffer not being unmapped. Error in queue submit validation error caused by buffer is still mapped. Should I just ask Google? Buffer is still mapped. wgpu buffer is still mapped. I think I need to be more specific. Error in queue submit validation error. Oops. I guess my copy key doesn't work here. Right click, click copy. Too much too specific. How about that? Not enough. Still mapped. How about wgpu q submit validation error still mapped without quotes? Guess it has to do with this maybe. This is just an API change proposal. Wow, okay. I really don't know what to search for to see, because I can't be the first person to do this mistake. Should I do something like search for the word mapped at creation? Error? Aha! Okay, that's not a panic, it's a corrupted contents. Searching was a dark art. We seem to come full circle. Well, it's probably just I did something obscure that no one else does. So yeah, this is what I did, right? I did a map to creation true for create buffer. Internally does a map to creation flag in the same way. I didn't see the unmap and figured that drop implementation all. Okay, so I do need to do a manual unmap. I think that's what it is. It stays mapped. That's my guess, is that if we say true, then it actually maps the buffer into memory and then it stays mapped. So if I like manually unmap it, if I say vertex uniforms buffer unmap, would that fix it? I have a hunch that that will fix it. In which case I don't need to map it because I have no contents for it yet. So I should set it, okay, that's what it was. So mapped at creation maps it right away and nothing unmaps it. And so it stays mapped, and that's why we got that error message about that it was still mapped. Okay, that makes sense to me now, but gosh, I wish the documentation would have said that. What they should do is here, where they document mapped at creation, they should say, don't forget to unmap the buffer. It stays mapped beyond the end of the lifetime of whatever you're doing, right? That's what they should say. Wait, where'd my window go? Hiding? Not hiding. What happened to my window? That was weird. It like disappeared. Huh. That was really odd. Anyway, here it is again. Yeah, FPS, like I was saying before, it goes up beyond 60 if I interact with the UI because of a bug where I'm not capping the frame rate if we get events that cause redraw. If I don't move the mouse, now there are no events, and so the redraw is based purely on a frame rate cap. The spinner is requesting it to redraw constantly, and it would go way above 60 if I didn't cap it. These events are not capped, and so it's as fast as I can move the mouse up to the limit of the virtual machine, which I guess is around 90 something. And yeah, that's why we have that. Okay, anyway. I can put this back, right? We can actually see the binding in here. Actually use the transform, right? And since it's a identity matrix, should have no change. But I think the next thing I want to do is actually do a scale. So where did I have that identity matrix again? Yeah, we don't need that. Okay, don't need that. It was in draw. Here, yeah. So I think what I can do is do a scale. Oh, 0.5. 3. But then I have to turn it into like um can you just do, because it, I forget the term, is it homogeneous coordinates? You have to like add a 1.0 to that. All sorts of things are wrong here. Matrix 3 is not imported. What's this error? Takes 2 arguments. Really? Oh, okay. So it already takes into account that it's homogeneous coordinates. So I can just say a matrix 4 scale, and I have to scale all the dimensions evenly. Oh? Takes 2 arguments. Why would it only take 2? Complex matrix. That worries me because it should be, is it one in complex numbers? Yeah, I don't think scale is the right word. Maybe what I do is I do identity and then scale it. By a real number. But I don't want to scale the 4th coordinate. So really, what I really want to do is do a matrix 3 and then there's a way to make it homogeneous, right? So homogeneous. There we go. So if you don't know linear algebra, this is going to look really mysterious. But basically, a 3 by 3 matrix that it has the identity matrix means there's no change to the coordinates, right? But then when we do apply a scaling factor, now we're we're going along the diagonal of the matrix and we're multiplying by 0.5. That has the effect of when we multiply all our coordinates by that matrix, it shrinks it down by a half. Then 2 homogeneous is adding a 4th coordinate that we're not using yet, so it's just going to be a 1, but we'll use later to add perspective. And there's a whole bunch of theory behind that that I don't have time to get into right now. But if that's correct, then now we should see the top of the cube shrunk down to half size. If I did it right. There we go. I have the other problem that it's not going to be square. It's going to kind of stretch with the screen. So I have to take into account the dimensions of the window in the matrix. They call that a view matrix. There's usually there's a model view and perspective, right? So I'm really only doing the model transform yet. I'm not including the view, which incorporates like how big the window is. Christian, how are you doing? How are you doing? So I need to make a simple view matrix and trying to remember how to do one that's just orthographic. Maybe I just cheat and look it up. Orthographic projection matrix. Learn OpenGL. Oh, that's just doing it for you. That's cheating. I want to actually know how the math works. So let's go back. Is it this one? Again, it's a function that does it. Okay, here it is, right? Or is that the view matrix? Enter the, yeah, that's something else. Yeah, so they rely on a function that does it for us. If I have to start learning Rust, you're a web developer, any recommendations? Yeah. Learn. Or is it Rust? There we go. So I would start there, rustlang.org, and to show you what that looks like. There's a nice big yellow Get Started button. And somewhere in here, well, after you install Rust, actually, this isn't the right path to go. Don't press the big yellow button. What is it? It's not Rust. Maybe this isn't the right starting point. Oh, yeah, it is. You just have to click this Learn button first. Learn Rust. I like to point people to this. So go to the rustlang.org, press the Learn button, and then pick one of 3 learning styles. There's either a book to start with to start learning it, or there's like a little interactive course you can follow, or you can just jump straight into code examples like this. There's Hello World, right? Or something more advanced like doing expressions. Here's how you can do some math, right? So pick your style. That's what I would do. Take a look at Leptos or Vue as web frameworks. Yeah, if you're familiar with like React, if you looked at Vue, it would look very familiar. Okay, if I click on this, is it gonna? No, I'd have to look at their JavaScript. Can I just get a formula for it? I think this is it. Okay, they're building it iteratively. Yeah, so there's like, here's the matrix. It incorporates the left and the right coordinates of where we're putting the view. And I forget what n is. N. Do they define what n is anywhere? So we have screen coordinates, left, right, top, and bottom. What is n? We need to remap the z coordinates to -1 to 1. We use the same principle to find the form of z. Start with the following condition. N, whatever that is. But why didn't they define what it means? Oh, this is terrible. They introduced a new variable n and they don't say what it means. Unless I'm just not seeing it. Okay, maybe this isn't the best tutorial. What does this mean? What is this? What is this n? Oh, I know what it means, because they use f. They didn't say it, or maybe they did and I'm not seeing it, but it's near and far. So you define the limit to how close something can be and the limit to how far something can be, and you need to do that because you need to basically map the the dimension that's going into the screen down to -1 to 1. So you have to set some bounds. It just can't be infinite. So that's what n is, near and far. So sure, why don't we just I copy paste from that? I can't copy paste from that. Oh well. Let me just make a function to compute that matrix then. So let's let our model matrix, model transform, equal that. And by default, we're starting with the model. But now let's also introduce a view transform. And here we're going to have to fill the whole thing in, right? Okay. Top left is 2 over left minus right, which is 2 over the width. 2 divided by the width, which we have available where? I guess we're going to have to pass it in. Screen descriptor? Is that what I want? Size in pixels. So let width equal the screen descriptor dot pic size in pixels 0. And then the height is index 1 of that. Width. Then I can never remember if this is row major or column major. So let's assume it's we're doing the top row here, right? So then it would be 2 zeros and then right plus left. So that's width times 2 divided by right minus. No, right. That would just be the width, right? If left is 0, that's just going to be a 1, right? Right plus left is just the width. Right minus left is also, so it's just negative 1. So 0, 0, and negative 1. Okay, that's the top row. And the next row is 0, and then top minus bottom is the height. So 0, height, 0, negative 1. 0, height, 0, and negative 1. You want to learn about operating systems and also want to build an OS from scratch. Any resources or recommends, please. That's like saying I want to learn about nuclear reactors and I don't want to build one from scratch. I think those are really radically different things. If you want to learn about operating systems, that's one thing, but building one from scratch is an entirely different thing. And I would first focus on learning about them, then decide if you really want to build one from scratch. There was a movie about that. Oh, hey there, Chris. How are you doing? Oh, you're the one who recommended you. I didn't see your name. I just saw what you wrote. And I thought, yes, that's a good idea because you is like React. See, I'm still kind of rusty in streaming, not just because I write in Rust, but also because I haven't been doing it in a while. So, Chris, I'm trying a new schedule where I'm streaming in the morning before work and I'm getting up early. We'll see if this works. This means I'll be going to bed early and trying to get up and have enough time to stream before work. I need to wrap things up. I'm hoping to get this orthographic projection working, and the goal would be that the top of the cube looks like a square all the time, no matter how I draw my window. And then the next stream, I'll try to add the camera position into the view so that I can move the camera around, and then finally would be give it some perspective, right? So the third row is -2 over far minus near, which I'll leave at 1 and -1. So far minus near would be what? See, I don't like this because they didn't really define the terms. Okay, they sort of did here, but they put a -z in there for some reason. So is far is going to be positive and near is negative? Let's assume that far is positive and near is negative. So that would be positive 1 minus a negative 1. So that would be a 2. So it just ends up being negative 1, right? In the third column. Negative 1. And then far plus near is 0. So that's going to be 0. And then 0, 0, 0, 1. Okay, there's my... Oh, I like the way that it was, so I'm going to use that trick that we looked up a little bit ago. That was Rust format skip. So it's basically saying, hey, Rust formatter, don't reformat this stuff. Okay. Yeah, I need these in real numbers. Whoops. How did I end up there? I need these as F64s. Don't I need to divide these by the... Like, don't I need to take the aspect ratio into account here? I need to get it back to screen coordinates, right? Yeah, I don't think I'm supposed to be using these here for the orthographic. Hmm. I'm actually thinking I kind of screwed this up because yeah, I did. It's not that we want an orthographic projection. It's we want a world to screen transform. What is that called? Got to be in here somewhere, right? They is it world to camera? They just have it hard coded? What the heck? Oh, no, that's where the camera is. How do I get my cursor back? do that trick. Here's where it is, right? Where do they use the image aspect ratio? This. Oh, they do incorporate that in right and left. Okay, yeah, so the max is the larger of the what's this min camera, max camera thing? Can you know why they both are different things? It's like saying learning about a car and making a car from scratch are different things. Like you could learn about what a car is without needing to build it from scratch. Um, and once you learn about a car, you might decide you don't need to build it from scratch. If you wanted to build it from scratch, that kind of implies you already know a lot about it. So why would you need to learn? So yeah, that's why saying they're different. If you don't know about operating systems, learn about them. Then once you learn about them, if it sounds fun to build one from scratch, then probably you've already, while learning operating systems, you already have found some pointers to the resources to learn what to do to make it. So start with the learning part of learning about operating systems, like what Epic Unknown is shared there. Build your own something, yeah. Uh, I feel like I'm going down the wrong path looking at this lesson here from Scratch Pixel. Matrix min camera. Yeah, I don't like this. Let me go back to what I remember reading. It was like learn OpenGL. I'd like this one. So the getting started, and then oh, there's going to be ads. Shoot, transforms. This taught you the basics. There's the scaling, translation, rotation, and all that. Maybe it was the next one, coordinate systems. There it is. Okay, they called it screen space or clip space. Oh, too many ads. Go away, ad. So there's the orthographic projection, which I don't think I actually need. We can do the perspective projection later. Going 3D. Um, where is the screen space one? That's what I'm missing. That's where they make the view, just putting the camera somewhere. That's where we apply the projection. Oh, the screen transform is built into the projection. That's what it is. So maybe I should just go straight to perspective projection then. Yeah, they rely on a library to do that, but they describe it through. They describe it conceptually. Oh, and they have an article about how to calculate it. Okay. Yeah. So I could use this, right? Oh, what happened to all the graphics? Weird. I think it's because it's being loaded as a frame here. Okay, this might not be the best guide because I expect to see an actual matrix somewhere, but I don't see it. It's like not loading it completely. Okay, forget that. Perspective projection matrix. Okay. The far and the near, and then taking the field of view into account and all that stuff. There's the far and the near stuff. It's too early in the morning for me to be messing with math, right? Am I building a 3D game from scratch? No, I'm not allowed to work on games. What I was hoping to do is just work with simulations and combining graphics and physics engines, but it's not really a game. Yeah, so I think I've kind of run out of time. What's it complaining about? Draw needs a screen descriptor. Does it though? Let's comment that out for now. I'll just leave this as a work in progress. So like this we'll do later. Yeah, so I'll leave it for next time. Without applying a perspective, some kind of transform to go from like world space to screen space, it's kind of stretched because it's assuming the left and the right are always -1, +1. The top and bottom are -1, +1, but they're not, right? When it's rectangular shaped, um, the x-axis is much wider than the y-axis in our view, right? So that the correction to get it from one coordinate space to the other will make it look square again. And then when I add a the position, like actually rotate the object around based off of the angle we're looking at, and then do either orthographic or perspective projection, then it'll actually look like a real cube. Right now we're stuck looking at the top of the cube, I think, or the front, one of the faces of the cube we're looking at, and we're not correcting for the aspect ratio of the screen yet. So we'll have to fix that. But that's going to be it for me. I got to go to work. Let's see, should we raid someone? I could just go raid Tim. I haven't done this in a long time. Okay, Timbo Det, awesome streamer, working on his own games. We're gonna go raid him because I gotta go to work. Hope you enjoyed today. I'll try to stream tomorrow around the same time. Let's see how that goes. And let me open this tab so I can actually do this the right way. I wish Twitch did this for you, but like you actually have to have like another window open on the stream you're raiding in order for not to miss anything. So now I've done that. I'm ready to go. See you guys later. Bye. Have a great day too, Chris and everybody else. And bye, Code Raj. See ya.